Observe the mechanics of a chessboard in motion. Among the intricate maneuvers and sweeping attacks, a single, uncompromising rule stands apart. The pawn is the piece on the board that cannot move backward. A queen can slide across 64 squares to escape a threat. A knight can leap back to its starting rank, and a rook can reverse direction to defend the king. Their power is defined by the luxury of retreat. Human psychology often mimics those powerful pieces. When faced with a social blunder or a professional setback, the mind habitually retreats. We spend immense mental energy living in a rear-view mirror, replaying past failures and ruminating on old conversations, as if we could change their outcome. We are often paralyzed by this ability to endlessly revisit our history. But looking at the pawn's physical limitation reveals a different kind of strength, a structural advantage built entirely on the inability to go back. Chess has survived for 15 centuries as a rigorous laboratory for decision-making. Kings, generals, and scientists treated these 64 squares as a tool to sharpen discipline and expose the costs of impatience. This chart displays the standard material value system. While the queen is worth 9 points, the pawn is valued at exactly 1. Modern psychological exhaustion is frequently driven by the weight of past choices. The rules governing this 1-point piece offer a specific, practical framework for managing that exhaustion. Resilience is found by leaning into the pawn's primary constraint. By removing the option to undo what has already been done, we can find a surprisingly effective blueprint for moving forward. Consider the pawn's first move. It is granted the unique privilege of advancing 1 or 2 squares, but every step after that is permanent. This mechanic mirrors a psychological practice called radical acceptance. It involves acknowledging the facts of your current situation without trying to fight the reality of how you got there. Because a pawn cannot return to protect a previous square, it exists in a state of constant, forced acceptance. It must engage with the board exactly as it is, not as the player wishes it were 5 moves ago. This structural inability to retreat forces the mind into a state of focus. You cannot worry about the space you left behind. You can only calculate the threats immediately in front of you. In contrast, the human mind often drains the energy needed for today's move by second-guessing the choices made yesterday. A pawn does not lament the rank it just vacated. Its entire mechanical design is calibrated for the next available square. Closing the door on retreat mimics a state of pure focus. It trains the mind to stop arguing with history so it can begin calculating the future. Viewing pawns as expendable foot soldiers is a frequent mistake. Beginners often treat them as cheap material, meant to be sacrificed for more important pieces. Grandmaster Judith Polgar, the strongest female player in history, argues the opposite. She suggests that excellence comes from this deliberate, step-by-step progress, rather than a reliance on overwhelming power. Polgar identifies this as a mindset of rigorous preparation and the nerve to trust your own calculation under pressure. It is the willingness to commit to a direction, knowing that your ability to adapt is the only thing that keeps the piece alive. The pawn's movement is linear, but its attack is diagonal. To progress, it must face obstacles at an angle, finding a narrow diagonal path through the opposition. When these units connect, they form a pawn structure. This chain creates a geometric wall that dictates exactly where the opposing queen and rooks can safely travel. Controlling a chaotic environment isn't done through sweeping, massive actions. It is the result of small, permanent decisions made over time that eventually harden into a defensive structure. As the board clears during the endgame, the pieces that once loomed over the pawn are gone. What remains is a single, solitary unit that has endured the slow, agonizing march toward the final row. This triggers promotion. Upon reaching the 8th rank, this restricted piece is granted the power to transform into a queen, rook, bishop, or knight. The game contains a purposeful irony. The piece with the lowest material value and the most restricted movement is the only one capable of becoming a queen. It rewards the most grueling journey with the game's most versatile power. The pawn's success was not a result of luck. It achieved this change by enduring the slow march, taking one square at a time and never looking back. Stop retreating to old regrets. Radically accept your current position and focus entirely on your next permanent move forward.